So last night I finally got a chance to see the much anticipated Terrifier 2. This is a movie that I've been looking forward to for a while. And I can't believe how long of a journey it's been for this movie to finally come out. I remember the teaser being released like 2 years ago. Oh my god, it's been such a long wait. And it is in, I think, the best condition that it possibly could have been seen in. If a studio had any kind of handle on this, it would have been hacked down to an hour and a half, but instead we get the full uncompromised vision. We get the full 2.5 hour slasher epic. We get to see everything. We get the whole picture, and I think that that's something that was really important to maintaining the integrity of this movie. Right off the bat, I really think that we kind of get the best of both worlds, and I think that this is where the concept of Art the Clown is most fully realized. And what I mean by that, it really feels like Damien Leone's kind of learned from each step, going from All Hallows Eve to Terrifier 2. Each one kind of builds on the next. You kind of see this more prototypical approach to Art the Clown in All Hallows Eve, and then you kind of see it developed into a more realized character. Terrifier 2 is kind of what fully built this concept into a complete storyline with a continuity, a main character, a final girl, and Art the Clown with the arch nemesis type dynamic that they have. And that's something that harkens back to my favorite horror movies. I really like the idea of kind of a rival to the horror icon. You know, Chucky and Andy, Nancy and Freddy, Arkin and the Collector. You really get that finally here. And with that, I really want to praise the performance of the main final girl. This character came off as very likable and relatable, and that made you root for her all the more when she's dealing with pretty horrific situations. You also kind of get an interesting character with the little brother where you're not exactly sure how he is, if he's actually messed up in the head or if he just kind of has a morbid curiosity with Art the Clown, like a lot of kids kind of do with crimes like that. And there were a few times where throughout the movie I wasn't sure whether he actually would turn out to be a good-natured kid or if he would maybe somehow end up kind of aiding Art the Clown or becoming his sidekick or something. You kind of had this conflicting idea in your head about what this kid's motives actually are, crazy, or why Art the Clown connects with him so much. So that's something that I also think added to the suspense of the movie. But without a doubt, I'd say something that I think was my favorite scene of the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it by any means, but there is a dream sequence that I think emulated a dream so perfectly. It's just a bizarre scenario where the main character kind of feels restricted by dream logic, and it's something that in the real world you wouldn't really think, because it would be pretty easy to get out of the situation or evade it in some way. But when you're in a dream, you don't really feel like you have that luxury. You almost feel trapped in the scenario, but everything feels so bizarre, surreal, and I think that that's something that I'm definitely going to take away from the movie, is that scene is that I really appreciated. Without a doubt though, the gore is next level. I'm honestly genuinely surprised with some of the things that they did here, and I'm just curious how they even were able to do it, because it was all practical. There wasn't, I think, a single CGI shot in the whole movie. Everything was practical, but there are parts where like someone has something stuck in their neck, or it's like you would think that you couldn't see, or that you'd see the indentation in their neck or whatever, but you can't. I genuinely have no idea how they did it, or if it was just with a dummy or an actor. I don't know. Sometimes I couldn't even tell, which is just, that's such a refreshing thing to see in a horror movie, not knowing how they even were able to use these effects. With that, I'd also say, if you at all have kind of a weak stomach for gore, don't watch this movie. It's definitely not going to be for you. It might be the most violent movie I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I don't think it's the most disturbing movie by any means that I've ever seen in my life, but as far as gore, violence, it's pretty up there. At this point right now, I can't really think of one that really matches it. I'd have to kind of think of it a little longer. Maybe Piranha 3D, but then it doesn't feel as realistic because it's CGI Piranha, and then you just kind of see it's not the same thing as actually seeing a guy hack someone up. I honestly wish that it wasn't just a 3-day theatrical run. I understand why. This isn't backed by a studio, so it's kind of a special screening. I had to drive 40 minutes to go see it, which it was worth it. It was on a really big screen. The audience was very receptive. This just feels like a experience that kind of beckons to be seen on a big screen with a big audience. I kind of wish that it had that more, because I don't think that a streaming experience would benefit it as much as a theatrical experience, but that is by no fault to the movie. Just, I honestly think that that speaks to the integrity of it, the fact that it's enhanced by a big screening. The movie really did kind of have this Goliath task, keeping you invested in a slasher movie for 2.5 hours. I can't think of another horror movie that's 2.5 hours long. Most of them usually, of course, fall between 90 minutes and maybe an hour 45, but this one keeps the tension the entire time. It keeps you invested in the story, it keeps you invested in Art's terrible acts, and I really never found myself bored at any point in the movie. I actually had to go to the bathroom during it, and I left because I thought that there was a lot left of the movie, but I checked the time while I was out, and I was like, oh shit, it's 2 hours in, I'm gonna miss the ending, so I rushed back into the theater. They play with a lot of more mystical aspects of this universe, and I think that that's another thing that I can really compliment, is that it kind of takes the idea of the first one and it expands the concepts and expands the lore and the universe in a way that you don't really see with a lot of movies. A lot of ones kind of just want to harken back to originals and whatnot, but this one really builds on it. Some people will be frustrated by kind of a lack of answers, but that's not something that I'm too concerned about, because I know that it's something that it's kind of building out. I think it's going to take time. I think we're going to get the answers in a Terrifier 3 or whatever, but for now, it did a successful job of just realizing these concepts and building out the world and really fully realizing it. When I see a film, I would much rather have the full picture. I'd rather see everything than kind of get a condensed and mauled version of the story. I'd rather see the whole thing, and I think that seeing the whole thing helps here a lot. I wouldn't change anything about it. I'm really happy with the way that this cut came out. Could it have been tightened up a little bit? Maybe, but I don't know what I would take away. I don't think that I would take anything out. I think everything had a purpose, and I think everything served a purpose in the story, so I wouldn't necessarily say that anything needed to go. And again, it speaks to the pace of the fact that, this thing shouldn't be able to keep your attention for as long as it does, but it does, and that's something that Damien Leone should be very proud of. And with that comes more screen time for Art the Clown, and I'm really glad that he got it, because he didn't get as much time in All Hallows Eve. He had his time in Terrifier, but this is the movie where he really was able to come into his own, especially character-wise. You get more that differentiates him from other horror movie killers and icons and stuff. He kind of gets a lot more of his own unique flavoring. He's also able to be fully fleshed out by David Howard Thornton in a way that he wasn't able to do before. Not that anything was wrong with the previous ones, of course, because he did carve his own way there. It's just that here's where you really get to see more of this guy. What makes him tick? You get to see more expressions. You kind of get to see him react to more situations. This kind of gives you the complete picture. It's like I said with the whole movie. I'm happy that we got the entire picture. Most slashers nowadays are kind of preoccupied with spinning their wheels in the franchise's past and kind of just trying to repeat the past. But Terrifier is one of those few scenarios where instead of kind of spinning its wheels, being repetitive, just trying to relive the past, it's really at its beginning, and I think that Art the Clown, this continuity, it's just getting started. We're really getting to build things. We're really getting a world built here, and I think that we're going to learn more of the rules, more of what's actually going on here, because, although people might be frustrated, again, with not having answers revealed, I don't think that anything was done without a purpose. I don't think that anything will go unexplained eventually. Everything will eventually be known. We just need to be patient and kind of see where it goes. With that, Terrifier 2 provided an extremely unique experience for me, especially as a horror movie fan. I don't get to see a lot of movies like this anymore. I'd say it was probably the best horror experience I've had for the year for sure. They don't make movies like this anymore. And on top of that, a studio would never let Damien Leone release the full 2.5-hour cut. They would probably hack it down to some hour-and-a-half cut that I don't think the fans would be happy with. I don't think Damien would be happy with seeing it cut down that much. So I really think we got the best of both worlds here. We got such a great natural progression of the story and the characters. We really got to give a great rival to Art the Clown. I met Damien Leone at New Jersey Horror Con a couple weeks ago, and he was a really nice guy, and I got him to sign my All Hallows Eve DVD, and something that he wrote on the DVD was, "Art is not safe." It's kind of cryptic, and I didn't understand what it meant until I saw the movie. He really gets a run for his money with this main final girl, Sienna. I'm excited to see where the story goes next. I'm excited to see how their rivalry progresses and how they kind of get pulled back into the story. Thanks again for watching, guys. If you want to see my review for All Hallows Eve or Terrifier, I'll have them linked. I'm probably going to also review All Hallows Eve Part 2 soon, even though it's kind of the most disconnected from the franchise. It doesn't have Art the Clown. Damien Leone's not directing this one, but I don't know. It's kind of loosely connected to the series. It's called All Hallows Eve 2, so it's still in some way connected. And then after that, I'll probably try and rank them and see how I feel about the 4 movies. Until then, see you guys later.